Whenever a potential seller calls me, there's usually two things that they want to know. The first one is usually, what is my house worth in this market? And the other is, what repairs, if any, should I do if I want to put my house on the market? Well, in 2022, things are a lot different, and we all know that repairs usually are things that are suggested before putting your house on the market. But in this video, I want to share with you 5 repairs that you should avoid if you're thinking about selling your home in 2022. But before we dive into any of that, a little bit of house cleaning. I'm Chris Nelson with Genstone Realty, the team lead of the Nelson Home Group, and this channel is all about real estate advice, tips, and tech. So if any of that excites you, you are in the right place, but do me a favor, drop me a comment, hit that thumbs up, consider subscribing, and mash that bell so you're notified of my future content. All right, guys, so as I mentioned, in this video, I want to talk about a few things or a few repairs that I think you should avoid or approach with caution if you're going to be selling your home in 2022. And the first is just normal wear and tear. The little things throughout the house that are just constantly being touched and may not be as fresh or as vibrant as they usually are. Well, you usually would repair these things, but I'm going to suggest maybe overlooking them. Maybe the broken doorknob or the broken handle on the cabinet doesn't need to be replaced, because buyers are overlooking a lot of these things in 2022. Actually, the way showings happen in 2021 and 2022 has changed quite a bit. Buyers are spending anywhere between a few minutes up to maybe 30 minutes in your home, and usually no more than 30 minutes. And in that 30-minute time frame, they're really looking at other things about the property. Does the property meet their needs, their lifestyle needs? Does it give them the room that they want? Are they in the right area in the development that they want? And a lot of times, because things are so frantic right now, they're overlooking your little repairs. Again, such as maybe a broken handle, or maybe there's a little snag in the carpet. These are things that you might want to consider avoiding in 2022. Another thing to consider not repairing: your windows and the accessories that come along with the windows. Now, usually if you are going to be putting your house up for sale and we're figuring out what repairs should be done, usually windows is something that we discuss that a buyer will either want to have repaired, or they may hold it against you in their offer. But 2022 is a lot different. A lot of times people will notice that the thermal gas in the window has started to escape, and it looks like there's a bunch of fog in between the window. And generally that's nothing more than just a cosmetic blemish. It doesn't mean that the window isn't performing. You know, it's still going to keep the rain out of the house. It's still going to keep your heat inside the house. So the window is still performing, if you will, to an extent, but replacing it because the thermal panes are starting to separate may not be something you want to do in 2022. Window treatments can also be relatively expensive. So if you have blinds that maybe aren't the nicest, or maybe they're broken, rather than replacing relatively expensive blinds, I would actually encourage that you just remove the blinds in their entirety, allow some more natural sunlight to come through, and problem solved. Another repair to consider avoiding: minor repairs to your HVAC, electric, and plumbing. Now, I want to emphasize minor, because if it's a major repair, more than likely it's something that's going to impact the property if it's not addressed. So if you have a plumbing leak, you're going to want to fix that. If you have an electrical outlet that is a fire hazard, if something gets plugged into it, well, you're going to want to fix that as well. And if you don't have heat, I think you're going to want to fix that as well. But using those same mechanics, if your heater just needs to be tuned up, or it just needs to be cleaned, or maybe you need a new thermostat because the buttons on it need to be pushed a little bit extra for it to actually register. And same thing with the plumbing. Maybe your sink has a slow leak, or one of the faucets has a very, very slow drip. Something, those type of real small minor repairs more than likely will be repairs that you don't have to worry about in 2022. But if it's major, again, you are going to want to take that into consideration because it is negatively impacting your property, and some of the repairs, especially electric and plumbing, well, if they're not addressed, could be disastrous. Now, usually when a person thinks about selling a property or preparing a property to go on the market, one of the first things they think about is either improving or renovating the kitchen or the bathrooms. And these are some of the most expensive renovations or repairs that can be done. And not only that, usually when you are renovating a kitchen or a bathroom or anything for that matter, usually you're applying your own taste to it. You're doing things that you would appreciate or you think someone else would appreciate. But I'm gonna go out and tell you right now that in 2022, as long as you have a kitchen that's functional, I'm gonna encourage for you not to put in a new kitchen or even do a partial kitchen renovation or a bathroom or a partial bathroom renovation, because the odds of you seeing that type of return in this market, or the odds of it helping you sell your house faster, probably is not a factor in this type of market. Now, again, if you want to do some small repairs, maybe put in some new hardware on your drawers and things to that extent, okay, maybe you can go ahead and do that if you really think it's necessary. But at the end of the day, avoid costly kitchen and bathroom renovations in 2022, not to discount the fact that we are also seeing inflation that is just making products insanely expensive, and we're also dealing with a supply chain issue. So some of the things that you think you're gonna get in timely to help finish your kitchen renovation may not come quickly. And lastly, the last or fifth thing that I'm going to encourage you to avoid is your carpet and flooring. Now, if your house is, if it's just deplorable and it smells like cigarettes and pet odors, now, again, your house in this market is more than likely is going to sell and still probably sell quickly. But you're gonna notice the difference in the numbers. So if you're one of the people where, your house it's soiled because of the pets, or it has a really strong cigarette odor, this may not apply for you. But if your carpets are just dated, there's stains and things to that extent, or the hardwood floors are scratched up, guess what? You're probably going to be okay not replacing them in 2022 if you decide to sell your home, and it's not going to impact your time on market or any of those things, because most buyers are willing to take that on in this particular market. So if you're sitting back and you're trying to figure out whether or not you should do a repair, here's a few questions that you can ask yourself, and hopefully these will help guide you in the right direction. And the first thing you want to ask yourself is, by not doing the repair, will it deter buyers from making an offer, right? So if you're looking at something in your kitchen and you're saying to yourself, well, if I don't repair it, it's going to completely deter buyers from making an offer on your property, then you may want to reconsider and make that particular repair. You also want to question whether or not you're going to spend more than you're going to make, right? Selling your house, it's still a matter of profiting and making some solid decisions that are going to pay off in the long run. So it doesn't make sense for you to spend $1,000 on a repair if it's only going to put $500 back into your pocket. So make sure that you're doing repairs that are going to have a cost versus reward benefit. Consider whether or not making the repair, whether or not it would cause for your home to sell for less than some of the neighboring homes. Okay, so again, in this situation, if it's your heater and your heater is completely shot and you don't make that repair, well, theoretically, you can expect or anticipate for your home to sell for less than maybe your neighboring home. So you want to make sure that you're tackling the repairs that are at least going to get you fair market value. With that being said, you also want to question whether or not the house is going to sit on the market longer if you don't make that repair. And this one could be tough because a lot of times we're going to apply our own personal belief. We all believe that, or feel like we want fresh paint and fresh carpet, but ultimately in 2022, they're not going to have your house sit on the market longer simply because your carpets are dated or your living room needs to be painted. But if there's a repair that you ultimately know it's going to cause your house to sit on the market, maybe there's some mold or discoloration, or maybe it's one of those pet smells that I referred to a moment ago, those are some things that you want to put some consideration to as well. And the very last question is, if you are considering a repair, if it's something that you think the end user, your new buyer, is going to appreciate but still change once they own the property, although they may appreciate it, it's counterproductive and you're wasting your money. So if you feel as though you're doing a repair that it's going to look good but the buyer is going to change it down the road, well, save your money and just don't do it at all. So at the end of the day, there are a few things I would suggest doing if you feel as though you have to do some type of improvements to your property. And the very first is light landscaping. And I do emphasize light. You go out there and weed and maybe put down some fresh mulch and leave it at that. You have to keep in mind that buyers start to form their opinion as soon as they pull up to your property. So curb appeal is extremely important, and it also goes a long way in your marketing photos. I also would encourage for you to consider updating some of your bulbs, maybe to LED light bulbs, but ultimately when I say update or upgrade your bulbs, really what I'm going for is a consistency. Either all daylight or all warm white, whatever type of lighting it is you like, you want that to be consistent. You don't want a light fixture to have different bulbs. Not only is it going to come off poorly in your marketing photos, but it does come off poorly in your showings as well. And then obviously anything that's glaringly broken. So again, that hot water heater that's leaking, the heater that doesn't kick on, the electrical outlet that doesn't get electric. Those are things that, again, I suggest putting some consideration towards, but they're not upgrades. Those are literally fixing things that are defective and broken, and that's it. So if you have any questions about what repairs you should do or consider to your home, or if you have any suggestions that someone else may benefit from, let me know. Feel free to drop that in the comments. Once again, I'm Chris Nelson with Genstone Realty, team lead of the Nelson Home Group, and check in next week for the very next Just the Tip with Chris. Until then, take care.